There has not been all that much news when it comes to NASCAR 25, but I do think that it's worth talking about it right now because before you know it, we're going to probably start getting updates. And I want to say why I'm a bit happy with how things have went so far, even though there hasn't been that much. Really quick before we start that though, letting you know tonight I'll be on Danny B's channel for NWP, so be sure to check that out. But let's get into the business now. NASCAR 25. Not much news. Yes, I get that. But I think that so far, this is a good thing. I mean, think of it like this. The mediocre NASCAR heat games and disastrous ignition both seem to brag about every little thing and pop different stuff out in every single way, overselling what ultimately wasn't worth the money that you or I was spending on said game. Now, this can be seen as a bad thing. Why aren't you trying to go in depth? Show people the way that the sausage is made. But at the same time, I think that doing things in a lot of ways the opposite that the other games have been made recently is a good pathway to doing so. You don't want, for one, to remind people of how it was in that time. Yes, it was fun leading up to every game. It was fun as a YouTuber, as a fan, as a gamer in general. But what ended up happening was disappointment, and you have a very gun-shy audience right now. An audience that is really just waiting for that other shoe to drop and waiting for problems to happen. After all, we have not had a universally loved NASCAR game in about 20 years. And as crazy as it is to say, that is the case. There has not been really something good in NASCAR since the second Bush administration. That's crazy to say. But overhyping it a year or more out, it's just going to make it more and more difficult to deliver for iRacing. iRacing has a very difficult task of trying to, one, get the people who are still on board to be excited, but two, to bring people on. And if you do end up doing too good of a job and the game is just good, but people are expecting the next NASCAR Thunder 2004, well, then you've done screwed yourself. You've made it to where you would have to have the best NASCAR game ever made on the first go-round, the first swing, the first at-bat, all of it right there. And I just don't think that that would be good on their part. And to their credit, they have slowly been kind of drip feeding this to the masses little by little. Some screenshots here and there. And now they even have this little dev diary, which doesn't tell much, but is at least something to get people thinking and keep it in people's minds.
I think what I'm very excited about, though, is what we're going to do with NASCAR 25. I think we have the group of people with Monster and with Papyrus pedigrees that have shipped many NASCAR games, that know what these products are supposed to be, that know what our customers want from these products.
So like I said, I'm happy with this kind of stuff to a point. Keep it in people's minds, don't give away too much, don't oversell it. I like that for now. But you're going to have to do that to a point. It's good until it's not, basically. And I think that time does change how we need to view these things. You will need to start getting some info out there and garner up some hype, especially heading into the 2025 season. This is a big season for NASCAR. Depending on how the charter negotiations go, it could be very big when it comes to the business side. You have the TV side changing immensely with Turner jumping aboard, and same with Prime and the CW. You also, I think in a lot of ways, have a bit of a culture change because of those things. All of this is going to change how fans view and look at NASCAR, and you need to be basically on the forefront of that as a game. If this is a new era, this needs to be part of why it's a good new era. And I would say I wouldn't mind a teaser or a release date being announced, say, by the time the 2025 Daytona 500 rolls around. Not that it releases then, but just that we know when it will. Generally, they like to release these games later in the year. I always think back to as I was a kid, and it was always around September or so. And that's probably when it's going to be around this time. It's probably going to be around the time the playoffs start, maybe around August in Daytona, and they're going to announce it in a really big hyped up week for NASCAR, which makes sense. But with that, you have to have something leading up. I would say if you have a teaser trailer out there, a little gameplay, maybe just something that hypes them up, maybe even just announcing the date during the 2025 Daytona 500 when the most NASCAR fans are watching, that would be absolutely perfect. Again, you can then slowly drip feed the masses more and more and more when it comes to footage of the gameplay, different things about it, different modes, whatever it might be. And then from there, it can garner up that hype over the summer when NASCAR hits a roll. Seeing how it looks like the off weekend is going to be Easter next year, you're not going to have a 2-week break where everyone just stops watching or looking at NASCAR stuff. You're going to have NASCAR building up through the summer into the playoffs like it normally does. So that would be a really good way to go about it. But what would I like to see in this game, or at least shown when NASCAR and iRacing start releasing more stuff? Well, first off, game-wise, I want the basics. I just want solid gameplay. I want to feel immersed in it, and not just in a fancy, eye candy preview show. I want to feel like I'm racing a next-gen car against 39 other drivers out there. I want the AI to race well. I want some good game modes. You don't have to copy and paste EA, but something creative, something that shows you really cared about it, like I think they do. Graphics don't need to be perfect. I think graphics as a gamer are highly overrated. As long as it's not like pixelated or something, I'm okay with the game not looking like the glossiest finished game ever. It can look like iRacing itself for all I care, which is good, but definitely not at the forefront and cutting edge of graphics. You can improve it when you make more games. And speaking of that, down the line, I don't want yearly games. Yearly games for big leagues don't even work very well, like Madden, for instance. And not to discredit NASCAR fans, but our base and our fan base for this sport is not big enough to hold up and prop up a yearly release. You need to do something like maybe every 3 to 4 years and just update the game you have and improve on it. Not release an unfinished product, but improve on it and then take those improvements to the next game. Don't make us pay and have a bunch of microtransactions for shit we should probably already have. And I would say this as well. iRacing needs to play to its strengths. The big strength of iRacing is versatility. And this game needs that. It needs that to help immersion with the player. Maybe not immediately, but down the line you have weather races like you have on the main server. Maybe down the line you have dynamic weather. You have day into night transitions. Different things like that make players maybe not notice it right away, but their brain notices it and they have more fun because of it. They play it longer and maybe you start building this community back up. Physics also. They need to make sense at least. The heat game physics were terrible, and I would just say this, the ignition physics were broken.
It's coming.
Physics!
These little things, or these basic things at least, would make this probably the best game since Inside Line. And that game came out, 12, 13 years ago? I just want to see a basic good game. And I want fans to hold iRacing accountable. It's easy to hold different game providers accountable when they are putting out mediocre games or crap games. But iRacing and those that are working with them, they all together do have a good history, and they need to be held up to that standard. And I think they do hold themselves to that, but fans need to hold themselves and those making the games to a higher standard and not make excuses like we saw a lot last time. So that I want to know what you think. What are your expectations for NASCAR 25? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like in this video. Share this video and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support, and be sure to watch NWP tonight on Danny B's channel. And until then, have a good one.